All right, today we're going to go over the practitioner side of LifeFiles. Your practice development specialist will be distributing your login information. So that is how that is obtained. It will include your username, temporary password, and a hyperlink on where to get to the actual site. So I have pulled up here. This is what it's going to look like when you first log in. You're going to again enter your username and then your temporary password and get a practitioner account. Okay, and so we're going to click login. When you first log in, it'll ask you to do some security questions. Just set that and then create your new password. This is the home page. You'll notice in this area over here, this is all information based on our different product lines. So our healthy aging category, we have Samorlin in here for a prescriber's guide as well as a patient brochure. These are hyperlinked fields to PDFs, so all you have to do to print it out is click on that and you have access to that material there. And the same thing applies across the board, just to the different product categories that we have. The main area that you'll be navigating from is over here on the control panel, so I'm going to go ahead and click into that. We're going to see the different options that we have. Some of these I'm going to click into, some of them I'm not, because they're self-explanatory. Patient search being one of those, if you need to search your database here. ERX is how we're going to actually create the prescription. Easy refill is how we would refill a prescription for a specific patient. Profile information here. Your practice demographics, as well as any information about yourself in here. You're probably not going to need to do any of those action items there. Script scan, if you do want to scan a prescription directly into the pharmacy, this would be the section you would go into, and it would open up just a document management module to where you can scan directly into LifeFiles. But if you're in LifeFiles, you might as well be doing electronic ordering. So again, that's a feature available to you, but is very rarely used. Just hitting on what it is. RX status is probably going to be your hot field that you're going to use all the time. I'm going to go ahead and click in here because this gives me a history of all the orders that have been submitted for a patient. So you'll notice up here, order number 255 ending in 878 submitted on 7/19, and we can see the status of that order here. Notice completed processing. That means the pharmacy has entered it into the system and it is currently in the work queue. You'll notice down here, completed orders. I'm going to click on this one right here. If I go over here and I click the view document, that will pull up the actual image of the order. Notice that this was submitted online, so it comes through in a little bit of a Word document. If you decide to scan it and fax it to the pharmacy, you will still have access to viewing that, and you'll see the physical document that has been scanned in. Getting back to this one. The other feature here that I'll talk about is to add a note. If I click this, I can add a note tied directly to this order number. So if for some reason anything changes from submission until shipment, and say we needed to upgrade the shipping to overnight, we could notate that in here, and the next time a person opens the order inside the pharmacy, they'll see that note from you and expedite the shipping priority for you. Again, this is just general notes pertaining to this specific order. And then our third button that we have the option here is the view detail. And this one's a really good button. Clicking into here, we can see from start to finish everybody who's ever touched this order and what's happened here. So our shipping information, so on and so forth. And you'll notice here, it was shipped in the pharmacy with a hyperlink tracking number. So you can go ahead and click on that and get real-time status on where this order is. This one obviously from yesterday, so it's probably still in the outbound shipping pile. But let's see if we can find an example of one that's already been delivered. Let's go with this one. So you'd be able to see that it was delivered, signed for by K Tate, and that is a MA in our South Lake office. So you will be able to see high visibility on exactly where physically your order is in production from start to finish. So that's kind of how that functionality works. Again, we're in the control panel, and RX status is how we get there. You'll notice on the left-hand side, you also see RX status. These are your shortcut buttons. So these are kind of your frequently used buttons over here. Moving through here, EPCS is something that's handled separately. So your practice development specialist will be able to walk you through how to set up for electronic prescribing of controlled substances. And essentially what that allows you to do is submit an order that is verified through a token key, which is simply a USB token, much like if you open up a bank account, you'll be given a token that generates a random number when you push the button. Once that is completed, which we'll demonstrate here in a minute, your order will be verified and sent directly to the pharmacy. You don't have to print out anything and sign it and scan it back. It saves quite an amount of time with your practitioners there. And then you have basic reports here that you can run. So you can see your detailed invoice transactions, and then you can see your patient prescription information as well as a shipping report. So your accounting department can have high visibility on reconciliation between what is ordered and shipped versus what you've been charged for, and make sure those tick and tie. So now we're going to go ahead and prescribe and generate a prescription for a patient. So I'm going to click the ERX button here. Notice this line up here is red, where select patient, because we do have to select a patient for the order. So clicking into ERX will prompt us to select a patient. You can search this database. I'm just going to search for a test patient. And then I'm going to go ahead and select them here on the right-hand side. Once this patient is selected, we're going to have the order information. It's divided in 3 sections, the top one being order processing information. This is where we assign the priority of the order. Normal orders are going to be delivered between 3 and 5 business days. The order cutoff deadline for the pharmacy is 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. So anything that has been submitted prior to 3 p.m. Central Standard Time will be processed and shipped that same day. I say and shipped, it will be processed that same day, and the shipping type will be assigned that day. If it's a standard order, it's going to get a ground shipment label. If it's a stat order, it's going to get a priority overnight order. There's no charge to the normal processing priority. However, the urgent processing will be 2-day, standard 2-day, and then the stat will be priority overnight, and there will be a $35 fee associated with that one. $20 on the urgent, and then $35 for the stat. So we're just going to leave this one as normal priority. Delivery information, you can select in here if you want. It is not a required field. The delivery service is determined by your process priority that you assign to the order. Over here on the right-hand side, we have special instructions field. So again, if you need to make note of anything that the pharmacist needs to pay attention to, or the technician, you can do that here. Moving to the next section of patient information, demographics will automatically populate. And then, so we don't really need to do anything here, just verify information is correct. And then we're going to get to the delivery and shipping information. This is telling us where to send your order to. So if we click copy to patient information, it's going to ship it directly to the patient. If we click copy to doctor information, it will ship to the practice's address. So you can tell it where to be shipped all in one push of the button. For this example, we'll just keep the doctor information in there. So you'll notice it's sending to our South Lake address at 620 North Kimball. After this, we're going to move on to the medication information side. So we do that by clicking the forward arrow. And the default screen is going to show patient medication history. So anything that this patient has already received will be here. So if you're doing a refill or a reorder, it's kind of a shortcut way. And if we need to do a new product, we can always search by medication here. Or for your convenience, I've created medication list shortcuts. So anything in our hormone optimization list will be displayed here. So we'll have anastrozole, DHEA, and then our testosterone cream, injectable, and pellets here, as well as estradiol. If we go into our, let's say, weight loss list, you'll see our B12 injection here, Samorelin, Super B Boost, HCG, and some naltrexones there. So it's divided that way. You have the ability to create your own list down in here, my profile, my medications list. So if you as a practitioner have your top 3 medications that you want to create your own list for, absolutely no problem. We could click into there and create those. For this example, I'm going to do an example of a controlled substance order as well as a non-controlled substance. You'll notice here Schedule L for Sermorelin. And if we go over to our testosterone, which is in hormone optimization, we're going to see that that's a Schedule 3 right there. So the Schedule 3 is the higher of those, and they have different ordering requirements. But again, we're going to start with a non-controlled, the Schedule L, and we're just going to get some Sermorelin. Now we're going to choose which dose is here. So we only have 1 mg by 1 mg per ml. It's the only product we have. And then we're going to assign the quantity, 1, 2, 3, or other. And then refills, 0. Days supply, 28. And then the SIG here. Still working on cleaning up a couple of these SIGs here. So I'm going to just go ahead and click 1. And then the whole order is going to turn green at this point. That means that we can go ahead and add that medication to the order. So I'll do that by clicking over here. And notice now we have 1 medication in our order. Think of this as your shopping cart up here, 1 medication. If we wanted to add something else, no problem. Let's throw some HCG in there. 5 mLs, no refills, 40-day supply, and then our SIG. Again, it's going to turn green. We follow the same process as adding to order. Now you'll notice I have 2 total medications in this order for this patient right here. Again, we are patient specific when we're ordering injectables and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and click into there, and I can take a view of what is in my cart. I can edit these products and I can remove them. But once everything looks good there, we're going to go ahead and click review and sign. At this point, it's ready to go to the pharmacy. Again, these are non-controlled, they're Schedule Ls, so I can just click this submit button and it will go directly into the pharmacy for fulfillment. And you have immediate visibility on that. So that was an example of a non-controlled. We'll go through the controlled now. I'm going to cancel out of this. Notice I'm still in this patient, no problem. We're going to select ERX. You'll notice this screen looks a little bit different. That's because it's a patient action. So when I click onto patient actions down here, I get this screen, and anything within this screen is related directly to this patient that I have selected here. So I can actually set up a refill reminder. So every, say, 28 days or every 25 days, it can send a text message to the patient that says, hey, looks like you're running out of your such and such. Let's call it Sermorelin for now. You're running out of your Sermorelin, call your practice to reorder. One of my favorite features is this med reminders button here. This takes the refill reminder to the next step, especially for your non-compliant patients, and say they just forget to take their medicine every night before bed. You can actually set up a text message reminder to be sent at 8:30 p.m. every single day that says, hey, Joe Smith, take your Sermorelin before bed. So you can actually do that every single day to help your patients be compliant. Auto refills is a great feature as well. Caution you on that, just make sure you're handling and keeping track of your payment information. So when you set up an auto refill on a product for a patient, every, let's say, 30 days, it will automatically generate an order within the system and send to that patient. Now, remember, your doctor's credit card is on file, so when we fill that order automatically, the card is going to be charged at that time. So you need to make sure that you're on track of making sure the payment is correct with your patients, because from our side of the fence, if you've enrolled in auto refill, we're going to be sending that to the patient based on the parameters that you set. So these again are in the patient action section. If I don't have a patient selected and I go into, I don't even have access to the patient actions button over here. So I have to have a patient selected first. Okay, so I'm going to reselect test patient, and now I'm going to show you an example of a controlled substance order for this patient. For office use states, that's currently Florida and Texas, you will need to create a patient called last name office, first name use. So it'll be office use as the patient name. That's the only difference. So go ahead and click into the ERX field. Again, we've just seen the screen, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that. I'm going to copy doctor information here, and I'm going to head on over to medication information. And you'll notice that the testosterone pellet and the testosterone with triamcinolone have been in this patient's history. However, if they have not, we would find them in the hormone optimization list. Go ahead and click on that. Our different dosages are displayed here from T12.5 all the way up to T200. Let's pretend we're ordering in bulk. So let's order a quantity of 50 there, 0 refills, 1 day supply, and then directions, office use only, not for resale. Okay, so once this is all filled out, we're going to follow the same process and add it to the order. And we're going to go ahead and review and sign. Now you'll notice my list dramatically decreased in the terms of available drugs. And that is because when you're doing this electronically, you can't mix controlled substances versus non-controlled substances. So keep that in mind. Okay, go ahead and click the review and sign button, and you'll notice that this is looks a little bit different than the previous time that we were going to submit an order. But again, it's going to list it out in a similar format, gives you a warning that you're completing two-factor authorization. We would then click the sign button here, and this is where the token would come into play. You would generate a code on that token, and then type in that code here, click submit. Once you click submit, there's no printing, there's no signing, there's no scanning and emailing or faxing back. You are done at this point, and this order would be in the system. So that is basically, that concludes our tutorial on LifeFile. If you have any other questions in detail, you can get with your practice development specialist, and they will be able to walk you through the steps that you need to do.